Ask yourself, is firing cluster munitions directly into a densely populated city a legitimate act of defence or a blatant war crime? Over 24 Russian ballistic missiles rained down on Kyiv and the surrounding region overnight. The attack left at least 17 dead and 44 injured at the time of recording, with rescue teams still pulling survivors from the rubble. But the real story isn't just the civilian destruction, it's who is helping launch these strikes. Confirmed reports reveal North Korean missile crews are now physically deployed inside Ukraine, operating targeting systems alongside Iranian-supplied drones and Chinese components. Ukrainian Foreign Minister urged Western allies to accept air defence shipments immediately, warning that every single interceptor is saving lives. Kyiv rejected any false moral equivalence, citing Article 51 of the UN Charter to defend its right to hit launch sites inside Russia. And overnight, Ukrainian long-range drones delivered a massive answer, launching strikes over 1,400 kilometers deep inside Russia's industrial heartland. While air defence alarms were still blaring over Kyiv, Ukraine's long-range drone fleet delivered a devastating double blow deep inside Russian territory. In the Tula region, a massive drone swarm hit the Wildberries logistics hub in Alexkin. The attack set a giant 194,000 square metre distribution centre completely ablaze, crippling the retailer's inventory handling and severing a major economic lifeline for the region. But the most significant threat to Moscow hit much further east. Over 1,400 kilometres from the Ukrainian border, drones struck the Bashneft oil refinery, a massive complex processing over 23 million tonnes of crude oil every single year. Geolocated footage confirms multiple direct impacts, sending plumes of heavy smoke over Russia's energy heartland and proving that distance is no longer a defence from Moscow's critical industries. And while these long-range strikes cripple Russia's deep economy, a parallel systematic dismantling is taking place right along the front lines. When a commercial cargo ship suddenly sinks in open water, is it a civilian tragedy or the destruction of a massed military supply line? In the Black Sea, Ukrainian surface drones ambushed and sank the sanctioned Russian container vessel Yanina. Moscow claimed the ship was only carrying civilian food supplies, but intelligence confirms the vessel was acting as a critical logistical bridge, covertly moving military hardware and fuel directly to occupied Crimea. This loss directly stars Russian frontline forces who are already facing brutal attrition. Along the eastern front in Prokhorovsk, Russian commanders launched over 130 separate assaults in a single 24-hour window, throwing wave after wave of infantry against fortified positions. But without heavy armour support or secure supply routes, those offensives are turning into meat grinders. Ukrainian artillery and FPV drone teams eliminating nearly 900 Russian troops and neutralised dozens of artillery systems in just one day. As Russia's logistics collapse from the Black Sea to the front line, one critical question remains: how long can Moscow sustain these losses before the entire front fractures? But Moscow isn't the only power facing a critical ammunition wall. Halfway across the globe, the United States is quietly running out of its most advanced long-range weapons. According to leaked defence reports, the US military has burned through virtually all of its global stockpiles of ATACMS and precision strike missiles during 5 months of intensive operations in the Middle East, slashing its defensive shield and leaving global allies directly exposed. Data from the Centre of Strategic and International Studies show US Patriot missile interceptors have plummeted by 65%, with anti-ballistic stocks down by nearly 40%. Analysts warn it could take until 2029 to rebuild these inventories. US War Secretary Pete Hegseth publicly slammed the reports as media sensationalism, insisting American stockpiles remain dominant. But behind closed doors, military commanders warned that empty missile chews in the Middle East directly compromise Washington's ability to defend Ukraine or deter escalation in the Pacific. And the stockpile depletion is colliding directly with a dangerous new flare-up across the Middle East. With US defence reserves stretched into the breaking point, the Middle East is opening new dangerous ground fronts. In southern Syria, Israeli ground forces launched renewed raids, conducting home searches and establishing forward positions amid a shifting power balance following recent regional clashes. At the same time, the world's most critical oil choke point remains paralysed. US President Donald Trump claimed negotiations with Iran are advancing and predicted the Strait of Hormuz will reopen soon. However, Iranian officials issued contradictory statements, leaving commercial shipping stranded and global energy markets in turmoil. From Kyiv to the Strait of Hormuz, global war supply chains are stretched thinner than at any point in modern history. Which of these fronts do you think would break first? That's the critical war news for today. Which of these 5 fronts do you think poses the biggest threat to global stability right now? Drop your thoughts in the comments and don't forget to like and subscribe if you enjoyed this video, and we'll see you on the next one.